Once a person insulted a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna Dev. That devotee went to Sri Ramakrishna and complained. Sri Ramakrishna told him, "You forgive that person. If you forgive, you will find peace, and that person will also respect you." The devotee followed the words of Sri Ramakrishna and forgave that person. The man then approaches the devotee and apologizes, and the two became friends. From the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna Dev, Ma Sarada, and Swami Sarvapriyananda, we can learn wonderful ways to defeat the enemy. Forgiving the enemy is the most effective way to defeat the enemy. When we forgive, we do not have any hatred, malice, or anger towards the enemy. As a result, even if the enemy attacks us, we are not disturbed and can face the situation calmly. To be successful in life, we have to defeat our enemies. Enemies can attack us in different ways, such as in language, in use, in action. To survive this attack, we need to understand the enemies and take proper action against them. In today's video, we will discuss how to defeat the enemy. Enemies can attack us through language, behavior, even physically. It hurts us a lot, depresses us, and can even break us. But sometimes I don't have the courage to fight. In this video, we will learn some tips that will help us defeat our enemy silently. Once a minister conspired against a king. As a result, the king became angry but did not say anything to the minister. The minister also ignored the king's anger and continued the affairs of the state within a few days. The king gradually lost his anger towards the minister, and the minister came to be known as a virtuous minister of the kingdom. Ignoring the enemy is also an effective way to defeat the enemy. If we ignore the enemy doesn't get any benefit from attacking us. As a result, the enemy gradually left us. Once a king killed a rival king and took over his kingdom. But the rival king's wife wants to avenge her husband's death. He hatches a conspiracy to kill the king. But when the king learns of the plot, he goes to the wife of the rival king and begs for forgiveness and develops a love affair with her. The rival king's wife falls in love with the king and continues to live with him after the king's death. Loving the enemy is the most challenging but effective way to defeat the enemy. If we love the enemy, we don't have any hatred or anger in our mind towards the enemy. As a result, even if the enemy attacks us, we can resist him. Swami Vivekananda said, if one has anger, greed, violence, then he is not an enemy of others, but an enemy of himself. He also said, he who can defeat his inner enemy can also defeat the enemy from outside. Sri Ramakrishna Dev said, he who can conquer the sin within himself can conquer the sin of others. He also said, he who can conquer death within himself can also conquer the death of others. Mother Sarada said, one who can conquer fear within himself can also conquer the fear of others. She also said, one who can conquer the darkness within himself can also conquer the darkness of the outside world. Swami Sarvapriyananda said, he who finds God within himself finds God in others. He also said, he who finds peace in himself finds peace in others. Find the enemy within yourself. Do understand the nature of the enemy. Make friends with the enemy. Be sympathetic to the enemy. These teachings teach us that in order to defeat the enemy, we must first eliminate the enmity within ourselves. If we hate the enemy, we ourselves become his enemy. If we love our enemy, he will become our friend. If we forgive the enemy, he no longer will remain our enemy. Hating the enemy makes us enemies too. When we hate someone, we feel negative emotions towards them. These emotions create toxicity in us and make us restless. If we continue to hate the enemy, we can't live peacefully with them. We remain eager to take revenge on them. This desire for revenge makes us more restless and complicates our lives. In war, when the enemy attacks us, we are ready to fight. We try to defeat them using our strength and power. But on the battlefield of life, we aren't always ready to fight. Sometimes we become angry or fearful of our enemies. We can't fight back, so we remain silent. Swami Vivekananda said, if you hate your enemy, you yourself become his enemy. This statement signifies that hating the enemy harms us. When we hate the enemy, we actually hate our own selves. We lock ourselves into enmity. Sri Ramakrishna Dev said, love your enemy and he will become your friend. This saying tells us that loving the enemy removes our enmity. When we love the enemy, we move ourselves beyond enmity. We make enemies our friends. Mother Sarada said, forgive the enemy, he won't be your enemy anymore. This saying tells us that forgiving the enemy frees us from enmity. When we forgive the enemy, we free ourselves from the bonds of enmity. We don't let the enemy remain enemy anymore. Swami Sarvapriyananda said, ignore the enemy and he cannot touch you. This saying tells us that ignoring the enemy keeps us safe from enmity. When we ignore the enemy, we distance ourselves from the influence of the enemy. We don't allow enemy to enter into our lives. By the term enemy, we mean the person who wants to harm us. The enemy can attack us through language, behavior, or actions to cause pain, anger, sorrow, and turmoil. Attacks from the enemy make us want to defeat the enemy. We want to take revenge upon the enemy. We want to punish the enemy, but it is never too good for us to take the revenge or punish the enemy. As a result, we create turmoil within ourselves. Swami Vivekananda said, forgiveness is the greatest power. By forgiving, we conquer the enemy. Sri Ramakrishna Dev said, by forgiveness, we gain victory over the enemy, but by revenge, we defeat ourselves. Mother Sarada said, forgiveness is the greatest religion. By forgiving, we defeat the enemy and find peace within ourselves. Swami Sarvapriyananda said, forgiveness is great power. Through forgiveness, we gain victory over the enemy and find God within ourselves.